Within this video, I want to go through another 10 tips that I find really helpful for teachers. Now, if you missed the previous video, check the link in the description. If you want to see what's in this video without having to watch the whole thing, check the link in the description down below and you can see what we're going to be covering. Did you know you can actually reset assets from within the content browser? Now this applies to blueprints, textures, models, animation. I'm going to go ahead and do an example here on a level, which is really handy. So for example, let's go ahead and set this up so that maybe I've made some changes to my level and I'm not exactly happy with what I've got. Like, oh, I'd rather have this one over here. Maybe I want to move the camera over here. And I'm like, that's not at all exactly what I want. I'd rather go back to the last saved version of this. Well, all you have to do is come down here to the content browser, go and just right click on the asset in question, come up here to Asset Actions, and then move over and down and come down here to Reload. Now what this is going to do is it's going to reload it back to its previously saved version of it. So just kind of remember that. It's kind of a tricky trick that's handy when you don't have source control. So go ahead and click on this. I will get a warning that says, hey, do you want to save anything? I'm currently using a world partition. So it's going to ask me if I want to save these couple of things. I don't want to save this stuff at all. So I'm going to go ahead and click the Don't Save button, and it'll revert it back to what it was prior. Now, anything that I had done is now completely and totally gone, and I can continue to work pretty much from that last save spot. As an instructor, it's inevitable that you or your students will goof up the interface somewhere inside of Unreal Engine, and it's going to be really hard to try and figure out where things are at. So we can actually reset this really easily. All we have to do is come up here into Window, come all the way down here where it says Load Layout, and you've got this default editor layout. This will reset the UI back to its factory defaults, which is nice. So we'll go ahead and click on this. Poof, and there you go, and everything is back to where it was. As a bit of a pro tip, let's go back up into Window, and you may have noticed that you can actually save out the ones that you want. So if you have a specific layout, like maybe you're working with just cameras, you can set that up. Did you know there's a way to actually save a camera location within inside the editor? This could be really handy for when you're teaching, but also incredibly helpful when you're actually doing some level design. So go ahead and get your camera to a position where you want. I'm going to go ahead and just move over here into the corner. And all I need to do is hit Control and one of the numbers on the keypad. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and hit Control 4. So now if I move to another location and I just press the 4 key on the keyboard, the camera will actually jump to that location. You can actually find these up here in the top left-hand corner of the viewport. So if you click here, come down here into Bookmarks, you can see that you can jump to a specific bookmark. You can set specific bookmarks. You can compact, clear, and clear all bookmarks as well. The content drawer, which you can find right down here, can often seem very intimidating. But did you know you can actually search and organize it really easily? For example, maybe I want to try and find one of these pillars. All I have to do is make sure that this area is active and just type in pillar. And you can see that it immediately starts to be activated. So you can see it here, and you can also see the search filter down here. Speaking of filters, here's another cool thing that you can do. I'm going to go ahead and click this button right here and actually add in a filter that will allow me to find only the static meshes. So to do that, just click here and I can choose my static mesh right here. There we go. So now I can see only the static meshes. These filters live right here and they can be toggled on and off very easily simply by just clicking on them. And if you right click on them, you can go ahead and just remove them completely from your list. The content browser isn't the only place that you can quickly search through things. You can also do this throughout the menus. For example, let's come up to Help and just type in the letter Q, and you'll instantly be given just Q&A. You can also do this in something like the palette over here. So I can click on this, type in sphere, and you can see that I can find an easy sphere, or maybe I want a trigger sphere. There's also another really quick way to get a hold of just about any asset. If you hit Ctrl P as in pterodactyl, you can go ahead and get the open asset. And if I type in something like pillar, you can see I can get those pillars really easily. And that'll allow me to quickly just drag one out. And all I have to do now is just close this window. Or maybe I want to dock it up above for later. The outliner right up here in the top right can actually be a really overwhelming place to look at as well because there's a lot of information in there. So let me give you a few tips that'll help out. Plus a bonus tip. Said bonus tip is if I select this object and I hit Shift E as in echo, it'll actually select all of the actors that are exactly the same. So now what I'm going to do is go ahead and just right click on this and I'm going to add it to a folder. So if I say move to, I can say create new folder. And we'll call this pillars. Like so. And let's go ahead and just take this pillars folder and I'm going to drag it down here into the playground. So now we've got nested folders. So this is the tricky thing that's kind of obnoxious inside of Unreal is that it's really hard to kind of see what's going on here inside of the outliner. But if we scroll all the way to the very top and if I hold down the Shift key on the keyboard and I click on this little tiny arrow right here, it'll close everything up. Because I held the Shift key when I just open it up, not holding the Shift key, you'll notice that they are all collapsed, which can be very helpful. And if I open up the playground one, you'll even see that down below, this one is even closed as well. When it comes to placing a light or a camera in a scene, it'd be really helpful if we could actually look through that object. Well, inside of Unreal Engine, you can actually do that. So to set this up, I'm going to go ahead and change the lighting in here just a little bit to make it easier. I'll hold down Ctrl and L on my keyboard. I'm just going to make it a much darker kind of scene. Next, I want to go ahead and bring in a light for this example. So I'll come up here to my place actors and type in light. What I'm looking for specifically is just a spotlight. So I'll click and drag this into my scene. And I'll lift this up so you can kind of see where it's actually headed. Now, to actually possess one of these, all you have to do is right click on it and go ahead and choose Pilot Spotlight. So Ctrl Shift P if you need a hotkey. So now I am actually inside that light, and you can see that I am inside that light because it says that I am right up here in the top left-hand corner. And when I need to eject, I can just hit the eject button. So now I can come in here and I can actually face this, let's say over here in this corner, and look at this like so. And if I eject by clicking this button up here in the top left, now I am back in my mode, but that object is now being illuminated by the light that I was just piloting. For whatever reason, a lot of people aren't taking advantage of the marketplace, specifically teachers. This is a place where you can get free assets that you can bring directly into your classroom. So let's go ahead and talk about where that is. So here inside of the launcher, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I am in the Unreal Engine section. I'm going to come up here into the marketplace. I'm going to just click on that. Now from here, you will find a section right here that actually says free, which is really handy. But before we actually dive into that, I'll come back to that in a minute. You can scroll down here and you'll find that every month there is a collection of about 5 things that will be free. They show up about every first Tuesday of the month. So go ahead and make sure that you add them to your cart. They will be free for you forever, and you can always use them in your classroom whenever you want. And you're welcome to go ahead and use them later in classes and give them to students to use for their projects. Now, that free section that I was talking about, let's go ahead and open this up. You'll see there's Epic Games content, the mega scans free for the month. We just talked about those. Permanently free collection. These will be free forever and ever. Actually, these kind of all are, except for the actual free for the month. And all you need to do is just go ahead and click on any of these. Let's go ahead and do the Epic Games content here. And you can see that you've got everything from actual models. These are twin motion models you can go ahead and bring in. There are stylized material packs inside of here. There are also all kinds of deformers. There's just lots and lots and lots of stuff that happen to be inside of here. So when you need something specific for your students, or your students need something specific, check the marketplace first, because it's probably going to be here and it's completely and totally for free for them. And if they need to use it for one of their games, it's still totally free for them to use. Did you know that within the Blueprint system, you can actually just drag a function onto an execution pin or a pin, and it'll actually connect everything for you? So for example, I have this light toggle function. You can actually see this right here on the left-hand side. And in the event graph, what I want it to do is to turn on this light when the character actually walks through there. So instead of trying to connect all the pins, all I need to do is grab this toggle light function, and I'm going to go ahead and attach it to the other actor right here. And when I let go, you'll notice that it will connect all of the pins that it needs automatically. So there you have it, 10 more tips that you can bring into your classroom to make your teaching much more efficient. And if you have any other tips that you want to share, please leave them down in the comments. And if you have any other questions, comments, concerns, or confusion you need cleared up so that you can continue to create, of course, leave them down there in the comments, and I'll get back to you when I have a chance.